Come on now, Caleb. Don't come back down. I'm trying to forward. See, there's a lot of effects. So pull up on your phone and see how you look. Because on here, everything looks small. Yeah. Yeah. It looks small. There's a lot. Oh, yeah. All right, we're just going to give it a few minutes for some more people to enter into the room. As you come into the room, just say hello, wave, let us know where you're viewing from. Come on and relax with us for the next hour or so. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. This is Ready for Relationship Live. Just going to wait a few more minutes until a few more viewers enter into the room. You can hear it. Turn that up a little bit. Come on in. We'll give it a couple of more minutes, 1 or 2 minutes before we start. Welcome to Ready for Relationship Live. I'm your host, A.B. Bracewell. Come on in, say what's up. Wave, give me a thumbs up, some hearts. Share this, invite your friends. Tonight we're going to have a great show, a great discussion. Come on in and enjoy yourself and relax and be a part of the conversation. Let me know if you can hear me well. Let me know how the sound is, if I need to make any adjustments on this side. Am I clear? Am I clear? Does I sound far away? Hey, Summer. Hey, Deanna. Can you hear me? Is the sound good? Maybe I just need to raise my voice. All right. Come on in. We're going to wait for a few more people to join before we start. Just a few more, and share this with your friends. Share it on your page. Invite some people. Let them know we're about to have a great discussion about the miseducation of relationships. Great, great, great. Thank you, Summer. See, my cousin just entered the room. What's up, Ja? How you doing? Make sure I want you guys to participate and be a part of the conversation. Give it a few more minutes before I start. All right. So make sure you invite, make sure you share, make sure you like and love. And if you hear something that you can relate to, something that resonates with you, give it a thumbs up, give a heart. Just invite your friends. I just really want you to share it, because the conversation that we're about to have tonight is going to be enlightening, it's going to be inspiring, and it's going to be educational. My name is A.B. Bracewell. This is Ready4 Relationship Live. This is my third broadcast, still new, so I'm still trying to grow this thing. So please invite your friends, tell them that a great discussion is about to happen. I have some fabulous guests that's going to be joining me tonight, and we'll be starting in another minute or so. Just waiting for a couple of people to roll into the room before we get started. Tonight's topic is about miseducation of relationship. Miseducation of relationship. If you saw the flyer, share it, share this page, and invite some people into this conversation. 1 minute. All right. So as I said, my name is A.B. Bracewell. I'm the host of Ready4 Relationship Live. And I created this broadcast really based on a book that I wrote and released about a month ago, which is called Ready4 Relationships. And in the book, I speak about various relationship topics. And the main point of the book is to really speak about and examine and research what we really have to do in order to be ready for a relationship. The different areas of our life that we need to grow in. In the book, I'm talking about healing. I'm talking about developing our life spiritually. I'm talking about getting to know ourselves as an individual, as a person. And I speak about developing a mutuality mindset. So throughout this broadcast, I'm going to be having different guests. I'm going to be talking about different topics. I'm going to be answering questions. And I hope that you guys can learn. I hope you guys can participate. And I also hope to learn from this broadcast. So tonight's topic is the miseducation of relationships. Miseducation of relationships. And as I always like to start with my introduction, I like telling a little story about myself. And, I like a little transparency before I begin. For those that don't know, my family is from Liberia, West Africa. It's a small country in West Africa. And to me and my siblings, we're the first generation born here in the United States. And if you're from a family that's from Africa or the West Indies or even the South, you might have had some similar experiences when it comes to sicknesses and illnesses and things of that nature. You see, in my household, my family we didn't really go to the doctor's office. We really didn't go to the dentist. We really didn't go to the hospitals that often. My family really relied on home remedies. Whenever we got sick, whenever we was ill, there was always a home remedy to deal with whatever ailment, whatever sickness it was. And that's how we got over a lot of our illnesses. Now, I really don't know why we didn't go to the doctors or the dentists or the hospital as much. I didn't know if it was the fact that my parents couldn't afford to, or I don't know if they just didn't trust the doctors or if they just didn't trust the hospitals. But one thing I do know about that it caused me to develop a certain belief. It caused me to have a certain bias against doctors, against dentists, against hospitals, and anything in the health field. What it did, and it was not a direct teaching, but what it really did for me, it made me believe that whenever I was sick, whenever I was ill, that I didn't need a doctor. It also made me believe or caused me to distrust doctors. And it caused me to believe that whatever sickness I had or whatever illness I had, that eventually I can get over it. In my household, my mom had one cure for any illness we had. And that was drink some castor oil, and go to sleep. So I don't care if it was a cold. She said, take this castor oil and take your butt to sleep. I don't care if it was a stomach ache. Take some castor oil and take your butt to sleep. I believe even if I probably would have got shot, my mom probably would have said, take this castor oil and go to sleep. And I really carried that with me from childhood into adulthood until I had this one experience with a toothache. Now, I had a cavity in my mouth since I was a child. And I don't mean to gross anybody out, but this one cavity gave me so much problems. It tortured me so badly throughout childhood. Like, I remember one time my whole face was swollen because of this cavity. There was times that I had pus coming out my mouth because of this cavity. And we never went to the dentist to take care of this cavity. And it wasn't until my adulthood when I became older. So one day I woke up and I just couldn't take the pain anymore. You know, I had a throbbing headache. I could barely see, and it was all stemming from this toothache. So I decided that, listen, I need to go to the dentist and take care of this cavity, whether it meant getting a cap or getting it filled or getting it pulled. I decided to go against all that I believed, all that I taught, all that was set as an example for me. And I went to the dentist to take care of this tooth. So what I'm telling this story for a specific reason. It's not really about my illnesses. It's not about my teeth. It's really about the beliefs that are embedded in us from childhood, from when we're young, from our society, from our culture, from other relationships, from our mom, from our dad. The different beliefs that are set inside of us that are misinformed and somewhat ignorant, but it also leads us down the wrong path. In the same way, I believe that I shouldn't trust doctors. The same way I believe that I could get better without a doctor. The same way I believe that I didn't need a doctor is the same way that a lot of us has been miseducated or misinformed about relationships. You know, we get these teachings, we get these lessons, we get these examples that are passed down from our parents, or that passed down from our communities, or passed down from just society as a whole. And this miseducational relationship also usually gets in our way of developing healthy and happy relationships. And this is what this whole broadcast is about tonight. We're going to be talking about the miseducation of relationships. What are those lessons that were taught that became a barrier, that became a block for us being in a healthy relationship? What were those examples we saw? What kind of community that we grew up in that caused us to stray away from what was right or what was healthy for us from a relationship? And believe me, I'm not here to talk about this on my own. I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the experiences in the world. So I had to invite some very special guests tonight. Tonight I have some ladies from Call to Inspire, and Miss LaWanda Fowler and Katrina Cummings. They have this great, fabulous organization that they've developed. And I wouldn't even be doing it justice for me to try to explain. What I do know is that their mission is to inspire you. And I brought them on the show tonight so they can inspire us with some of their wisdom, some of their experiences, and some of their transparency. And hopefully some of the things that we talk about tonight, you can take it away with you when we're all done. So without further ado, I'm going to be bringing on the set Miss Katrina Cummings and Miss LaWanda Fowler, the ladies of Call to Inspire.
Hey, you guys.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so we're going to get this conversation started. But before we even get the conversation started, Miss LaWanda, Miss Katrina, I would love for you to explain what Call to Inspire is all about. I didn't want to do an injustice and leave anything out. So you guys are the experts. Please tell people what Call to Inspire is.
Okay, so basically Call to Inspire
came about for me and LaWanda. We both have a passion for encouraging and uplifting not only women but men, and we came up with the idea of creating a YouTube channel and then using that platform to promote, educate, uplift, inspire, and motivate people to become the best version of themselves and to go after whatever sets their soul on fire. We're very passionate into looking into a lot of things where people may need that extra push to go out there and start a business, write a book, or whatever it may be. Me and Wanda just made this platform here that we're able to just share with you guys on our own personal journey while we're getting ourselves together and encouraging ourselves, and also sharing that gift with other people to reach their fullest potential as well.
Trina did an excellent job of explaining that. So,
okay. All right, so we can jump right into the conversation, right?
Yeah,
Let's
do it.
So you guys already know what the discussion is about, what the topic is about tonight. Yeah. Miseducation of relationships.
Yes.
You know, all the wrong teachings that we picked up growing up, you know, all the bad, negative examples that we watched, or that, you know, we probably was even a part of, because it could have been our parents' relationship, where we learned some of these misconceptions about what a relationship should be or what it should look like.
Right.
And my first question for you guys tonight is, what are some of the misconceptions? What are some of the miseducation that we receive, or that people receive, about love, about relationships, about dating, about the opposite sex? What are some of those things that often gets in the way of us really developing a healthy relationship?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, as far as like the negative teachings when it comes to love and relationships, I only can speak for my own preference. So a lot of the negative things that I witnessed myself is more so like the lack of, like, I'm sorry, you would think that, how can I say it? Your partner's supposed to be perfect. The misconception is that your partner is supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to meet all your needs. They're supposed to meet the expectations, and this is unrealistic. Just to think that your partner is supposed to do all those things for you, and that's not necessarily the case when it comes to the misconception of relationships. Also, I just feel that if your partner is attentive, they're paying attention to you, they're intrigued to learn about you and know you and committed to learning you, that it will kind of fall into place, versus the misconception of you meet somebody and they're just going to know everything about you. They're going to have it all figured out, and it's just going to flow right. And that's not always the case. When it comes to the opposite sex, I believe that all men are not the same. And that's a misconception as well, that all men are the same. And that's just not true. I just think that because of one person's experience with the opposite sex, you shouldn't group everybody all together to say that all men are just one way, because that's totally not the case.
I would add to that, some of the misconceptions or miseducation of relationships, it kind of stem from what you learn, or what you brought in from your family. For example, I come from a very strong matriarchal family. There was really no men around, so the women really did everything. So they passed down the notion that you don't need a man for anything. So that went into all of our relationships already thinking, with that knowledge, we don't need a man for anything, when we already know that's not true in numerous ways. So that's one of the biggest miseducation of, I can say, for my generation, for my family, and for a lot of people I know who grew up were mainly surrounded by women.
Yeah, that's great. But one of the things you just said was what I got from it is, like, we go into a relationship with these expectations that our mate is supposed to be perfect or custom made for us, that there shouldn't be no compromise. We wouldn't have to make any adjustments. What do y'all think is the lesson that is taught to young men and young women that even make us have that frame of mind going into a relationship?
That's a good question.
Or not even a lesson. Sometimes it's an example that we probably saw growing up, that make us come with this belief that, okay, when I enter in a relationship, this person is supposed to know my likes, my dislikes, They should know my triggers, my red flags before we even take up the time to get to know them. Because that's true. That is something that we go into relationship with. And we do go in with that level of ignorance about relationships. Where do you think people get that from?
So for me, I would say movies.
Yes.
You watch, and I love romantic comedies and other types of movies, but you go into the perception of the fantasy world, and movies, everybody, they pick it up, they know what you want, they know what you need, they dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And that's just not realistic when it comes to real life relationships. Because even when I was younger, my mom would be like, yo, you make sure you get somebody that loves you more than you love them, or make sure, that you get this guy that has boom, 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 and he's going to do everything right. But I'm like, Mom, he's still human. Like, and then that false expectations and those things that you create in your mind that a person's supposed to be A1 with everything, you're going to be left disappointed. Yeah. So a lot for me, and I'm a dreamer and all those type of things. So I get caught up sometimes in the fantasy and the misconception of reality, because that happens when you look at somebody else on TV and things that go good or flow right. That may not be the case in real life. So I know from my own experiences, that's more so where it came from. That's where I've seen it at. It's from like TV and things like that.
I agree with that. And I think it comes to us at an early age, the minute we are born. When you think about once you have a baby, they're giving you either a pink towel, a pink blanket or a blue blanket. Everything's already laid out for you. And then they're coming out with all these cartoons. We're supposed to be, as women, waiting on Prince Charming to come in, riding on this white horse to save us. So the media, the movies, everything is putting all this stuff in our head, and it's filling our head up with all these things that's not real, which we all take it and we run with it and we create more and more and more. Like where does the notion that a relationship that's 50-50 come from? All this stuff is just like passed down. It's more like, okay, you grew up in a certain community. Here's the rules. Here's the box. Here's the rules that you live by. And I think each community, each culture, everybody has their own notion of how relationships supposed to be. And we take that, and it's something that we base our own relationships on, rather than really basing our relationships on the Bible, what God says. So that's how we kind of mess up there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And you just said something that triggered another question in my head. But from your first answer, you were saying how your mom or the women in your family taught that, hey, you don't need a man, independent. You can go out and get your own house, get your own car, make your own money. But then on the other hand, we have all these fictitious or fantasy characters on TV that saying Prince Charming is going to come and save the day. So there's really two different messages being sent.
Exactly.
Like how confusing could that be for, I guess, a young girl, a young woman that's growing up and developing a relationship, and looking for the Prince Charming. But then on the other hand, you got mom saying, "Hey, don't trust no man. Go get it on your own." Like what a clash. And I mean, how confusing is that for a young lady?
It's very confusing. Like growing up, you grow up in the church, you're getting one word. You growing up at home, you're getting another word. And you going to school, you with your friends, you're getting another word. So of course, everybody's going to be so confused on what you're looking for. So that's why we usually go into these relationships all messed up, all confused. You don't even know. It's like trial and error. It's trial and error. Going into relationships is trial and error, because we're getting all these different knowledge from different people from different areas. So I know that growing up in my relationships, I know I was all over the place because I wanted to do right, but I also wanted to look right in front of my friends. I also wanted to do right by my mom, but I also wanted to go by what God said. So I was just all over the place. Yes, so that was very confusing.
Yeah. The messages, the mixed messages that we get, that leaves us definitely misinformed about education.
Yes.
About relationships, I should say.
I agree. And even same thing too, like LaWanda, when we talk about the miseducation, the misconception of relationships, we tend to, not everybody, but we tend to go into these relationships with the idea that everything is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. Again, that comes from TV and movies, and some people, even your family or your friendship, you do witness some people that have really great relationships. But at the end of the day, I can't stress it enough to think that when you go into a relationship, you're forgetting the fact that it takes work. Yes. You're forgetting the fact that you are blending two individuals with two different perspectives, two different ideas of what they may like or what they may want. All types of things, two different personalities. So you're blending two forces together. And sometimes it runs smoothly and it's okay. And oftentimes it may be a clash. You may hit some bumps on the road. But just the idea that all relationships are good or perfect, I think that's the misconception, because the divorce rate today is crazy. People have all these relationship goals. They see people on Instagram and celebrities. Oh, I want that. But it's like, you don't know what comes with that. You don't know the challenges that come with that. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot when it comes to like the miseducation of relationships.
So, being that I have you two ladies with me, this is the perfect opportunity for me to get some answers from the source. Now, we all probably have a female friend that's in a relationship and completely loyal to a guy that's totally mistreating her. It could be cheating on her, abusing her, whatever the case might be. But we know, but this friend is staying loyal to this guy no matter what he does to her. And I always wonder, what is being taught to young ladies or women that make them make believe or make them think that no matter what someone is doing to me, how much they're mistreating me, that I have to be loyal to this person? Like, what's the education that they're receiving about relationships and men and just loyalty in order for them to that make them do that?
Yeah, I think it comes from, it's so many reasons why. There's no one clear-cut reason why this happened, because each person is individual to whatever happened to them in their life. A lot of time, like I said earlier, a lot of females are brought up with just women in their family. So oftentimes we don't want to be like our mothers. We don't want to raise our children by ourselves. We want to be single all day. So we accept whatever's going, whatever this guy is giving us, just to be in a relationship. So that's like one of the main reasons. A lot of people just want to be in a relationship to be in a relationship. Some people just don't want to be alone. So they're going to accept anything. So they stick around in a wrong relationship, knowing that there's no purpose in that relationship, even if the relationship not going anywhere, because they want to have somebody to come home to. They want to have somebody, I could post, or me and my boo, they want to post it for social media just so people can see that they're in a relationship.
Yeah. And I would say similar to what you said, because I've witnessed it personally, my own experiences, family members, friends. Like, I would say that we are teaching young women by staying loyal in relationships with men. We're not teaching them the best way by doing that. I feel that you're showing them that you don't value yourself. You're showing them that you don't care about yourself. You're showing that you don't have any worth. When you continue to stay in a relationship with somebody that's mistreating you and doing all these things to you, you tend to lose perspective of, I deserve better. Right. So a lot of it is more so inner than anything, because I think a lot of the time, like you said, loneliness. It can come from lack of abandonment. We have a lot of women that's codependent. A lot of women that don't want to raise kids by themselves. Some people just don't want to be alone. Some people just happy to have a man. They're like, I'm going to stay in this by any means necessary. But what you're teaching young women is that you don't know your value. You don't know your worth. You're going to put up with anything just to say you have somebody. And I don't think that shows strength. It's more stronger. You appear more stronger and wiser to step out of a situation like that and to remove yourself from that versus being loyal to someone that's mistreating you. And mistreatment is not always physical. It could be emotional or any other type that's not acceptable. So when you have younger women looking up to you, yeah, you may choose to stay or go back depending on the nature of the situation. Everybody's situation is different, but you have to be mindful, what example are you setting if you go back and you play and there's no change and there's no improvement, because people are watching you. Right. You know, you never know who's looking. And I feel that our worth and our value depreciates a lot of times. And that's what we're showing young girls that want to continue to keep going backwards and keep dealing with guys that are mistreating them and staying loyal. It all comes from, I would say, how you look at yourself, how you view yourself, for you to want to continue to tolerate that and deal with it.
I think also on top of that, a lot of us watch our mothers. We watch our mothers be abused. We watch our mothers stick in here. So we growing up thinking, that's how you do it. It's okay. That means, this guy's beating on me. That means he loves me. Because we are taught in kindergarten. I don't know if they told you this, but if a boy hit you, that means they like you. There you go. We're already putting in the head that if they hit on you, they like you. So we're growing up with this in our mind. Like, he hitting on me, it's okay. That means he loves me. He still take care of me. That's my boo. No, it's not good.
Yeah, that's
just to piggyback off what both of you guys said. Like a lot of it is environmental. The stuff that we grow up seeing is the stuff that we grow up, I guess, experiencing. Like, if everybody around me is getting mistreated in a relationship, how do I know that this is wrong?
Right.
It seems normal.
Right. She see.
Yeah, it seems normal. So yeah, her boyfriend might hit her around. Like you said, somebody might say, "Hey, that shows love." But if this person is getting abused and that person is getting abused, and then my other friend is getting abused, how do I know that I'm getting mistreated? Like, I'm like, hey, this is what relationships are supposed to be.
Right.
And
that's very true.
Let me read some of these comments on Facebook. We have Rachel says, believing in potential, avoid feeling. A lot of people that believe in potential. They have Kara, she says they feel like they're missing out. Summer says, some people are just afraid of being single and alone. You have Gregory said, Gregory Devine says, people get into relationship with strangers because everyone believes in this fantasy of love at first sight. No one is interested in friendship, even though friendship is the foundation.
It's a big one.
That catches you when feelings are being aware of. Sorry. Okay.
That was good. That was a really big one.
Friendship. Then I'll get into that. She definitely said something that I can relate to, but I'll get into that after this next question when I hear from you guys. So we are about at the halfway mark of the show. And this is when I like to get a little deep. I get a little transparent. And, we're talking about everybody else, what people experience, and we're talking in theory before that. But right now, I have a question for you guys. What real life examples can you give about the lessons, about the miseducation that you started saying something? I want you to get more, say more. But some real life examples that you went through in your life, that you was taught or that you've seen, that caused you to kind of fall off track, or cause you to be miseducated when it comes to relationships. What are some real life examples you have? Some personal examples.
I'll give one because we're being transparent here.
That's what we all about.
I will share that growing up, I had an older brother, and when I became of age, he felt like he had to be my father figure. So he told me, I remember this like yesterday, he said, don't trust no man. Don't trust no man. So I took that and I embedded it in my head and in my heart. So any relationship that I went into, I already had the notion of, I'm not going to believe anything you say, anything you did, even if this person showed me their true self and it was real to me. But because my brother already said, don't trust no man. I lived with that for years, all the way into adulthood, of don't trust no man. So I went into every relationship with not trusting. So that really hurt a lot of my relationship, because I never trusted anybody, because he put that in my head. That's what he taught me. And to me, my brother could do no wrong. My brother couldn't steer me wrong. And then on another side, he was a man. So I see what he did in his relationship. So I said, so he's helping me. He's showing me what guys do. So I took that with me and ruined a lot of relationships.
He was an example of his own lesson.
Yes, he definitely was.
Right.
Yes.
So just to piggyback on like what you said, that was my same issue too. But instead of coming from your brother, it came from my father. So my father always instilled in me that you don't need no man, you need to be strong, always speak your mind. And same thing with the trust issues, like don't trust people. You know, people will tend to disappoint you, they'll break your heart, you know, don't fall into the trap that you can, you know, put your weight on a guy, like you make sure you cool, you good, you pay your own money, you pay your own card. All even to this day. You know, he's still like that. And some instance, I'm like, okay, I got it. Because you want to make sure that you're independent. You want to make sure that you got your own. You can, you know, carry yourself well. But the problem and the misconception of putting that in my head at a young age, even so now, is that it created me to have the mindset of I got to take care of everything.
Right.
I can't trust him. I can't trust him to do this. I can't trust him to do that. So the dependency level was like low. So if I'm in a relationship with somebody, like I would want to kind of control the environment because of the fear of the lack of follow through, the fear of them dropping the ball of anything. And I think that was my issue because dad always instilled, don't trust no man, you got to do it yourself. But the problem with that, when you're in a relationship, you want to be able to trust fully, emotionally, like be raw, be vulnerable, even when it comes to just needing help or support.
Right.
Because when it comes to your own needs and happiness, that's nobody's responsibility but your own. But even in the sense of, I'm like, okay, I want somebody to do something nice for me. If they're paying attention and they're being attentive and they love you and they care, they want to do things to make you happy. But if you're trying to control the environment because you're afraid that they're not capable or they don't know how to do it, or you're just taught like, you got to make it happen, you got to do it, then you're robbing the person of being able to show you that I'm capable of it. Hello, I know how to do this. I can take care of you. You know, I got you, but let me do it. You know, take your hands off it. So that's was my issues for my dad. So it's kind of a gift and a curse in a sense, because it just caused me not to be able to put my full weight on somebody to say, okay, I can be cool. I know he got it. It's hard.
Yeah.
that's always struggle.
That's good that you said that because somebody else told me that I need to take my hands off the steering wheel. I do have an issue trying to control everything, like because you know, like he said, we told them trust nobody. I'm always coming in ready, like I'm already ready. Somebody say, let's go on a date. I'm coming in ready just in case you don't have the money. I'm gonna pop my card down. I'm gonna pay for this. Like I'm always prepared. I'm always trying to say like, let's go on a date. I want to make all the plans. Everything that the man should be doing, I did it because I was always thinking that this is not going to happen if I don't do it.
And it's the crazy thing about that lesson. Like, it's one thing if I'm in a relationship and a person breaks my trust. If they do something that make me say, okay, your actions make you untrustworthy.
Right.
But it's a whole nother thing when you go into the relationship not trusting. Like, you go into the relationship with a wall up. And you said a very key word, vulnerability. And what's a relationship if you can't be vulnerable with the other person? Like, I can't show you who I really am. I can't really let you in because it gets deeper than just trust. Now you really don't know who I am because I have this wall up. I wouldn't put my guard down. And and that'll block any healthy relationship from the door before it even starts. Now, I said I'll be a little bit transparent myself, right? See, so I've said this before on other broadcasts, but I'll say it again because this is really my miseducation, and I'm sure that there's some other guys that share the same lessons that knocked us off track. And my miseducation really didn't come from family members. Well, some of them did, but not this particular one. It didn't really come from family members because my mom and dad never really sat down and talked to me about relationships. We didn't have that type of relationship. So I had to learn a lot of my lessons about women and love and dating from the fellas, dudes on the street. And the lesson that they taught us was like, hey, you don't fall in love. You don't fall in love. You know, she's only good for one or two things, really one thing. And that's sex. You know, women, you know, you just don't commit to one person. You try to collect as many women as possible because that will make you popular. That's what made you the man, or whatever. And that's the miseducation I received. And what Gregory said about friendship, like that's a direct, that's a direct lesson for me because I had a lot of issues with just developing platonic friendships with women. Like if you saw me talking to a woman, it's because I was trying to get with her. I was not and right now I still like, it's amazing that I'm sitting here talking to you guys as friends, but you know, I just never developed that skill of just developing platonic relationships with women. And if you can't have a friendship, I said platonic friendship, if you can't have a friendship with a woman, like you can never have a real relationship because you just really after that one thing. Like, so if it wasn't romantic with me, then it wasn't nothing. And that really blocked me from developing healthy relationships for a very, very long time. Very long time.
And you have to, I think too, people got to understand that, like you said, the friendship is the biggest thing.
Yes.
And the key, because it all starts with friendship. But a lot of people think that from the physical aspect, that's enough to hold a relationship, and it's not. The physical aspect is not enough to carry a relationship. You have to be able to connect with that person on a mental level. You should be compatible spiritually. It's far beyond just the physical aspect. Okay, we have sex, it's great, cool, but what other qualities do you bring to the table? What else is going to keep me intrigued into the relationship? Because it's going to take more of the foundation of just the physical attraction or connection to carry it and to keep it going. So I think that's what the main issue is too.
That's really good, because I think now going through this pandemic, we're seeing so many people break up because of that. Because you're stuck together, and it's like, now what? It's not the sex. We're here. You get to see the true person for who they are. You never knew that because you didn't take that time to learn that person.
Exactly. So that's what I've been listening to. Yeah.
So now that you guys talked about some of the miseducation, some of the poor lessons that y'all learned about love and men and relationships, that stuff was, we're gonna say it's in the past, right? We're gonna say it's in the past. You sure? Right. We're gonna say it's in the past. So being that it's in the past, I want to talk about, how did you overcome that? How did you re-educate yourself? How did you reprogram like these generational lessons, these years and years and years of being taught, don't trust a man, or you know, do it yourself, or you don't need a man, or even myself, like women are just sexual objects. Like, how did you get to the point where you could re-educate yourself, and now you look at relationships and sex and men and everything different?
Well, I can say for me, I've read a lot more. I've talked to people. I've asked questions. I'm kind of headstrong, so I don't really want to hear what anybody else have to say most of the time. But I had to humble myself a lot, and I had to put my pride down and say, this is not so and so's fault. This is not because of mom and dad. And even if it is from mom and dad or a friend or experience in the past, I can't continue to let that to stop me from being in a healthy, successful relationship moving forward. I can't keep holding on to what I was taught, because, like you said, it's a miseducation. You know, you should be able to trust in your relationship. You should be able to be vulnerable and all of these things. So I took it upon myself to start reading more. I asked questions. I talked to different people. I'm more open about my experiences. I kind of like retrained my mind, because sometimes when you're in the process of trying to like grow and develop, you tend to fall back, especially when you get triggered or something happened. You go back to that same, I see, this is why I can't trust, this is why. So I have to kind of snap back and say, okay, even if that person gets triggered, that change your outlook, change your perspective, to try to channel your mind to say, okay, this is what you were learned and taught, but shift your focus on something different and be positive and try to find better ways of dealing with it, because the way that I used to deal with it isn't healthy. So for me, I would just reach out to people and talk, ask for advice, and start looking really within myself and trying to work on it day to day to fix it as much as I possibly could.
So for me, I think I had to really get back to self, meaning myself. I had to really work on me, because before in a relationship, it's you a person first. It's you first. So I had to get back to me. I had to get back to knowing me. I had to get back to knowing what I want in a relationship, what I deserve. I had to get back to all that first, because you want to go into a relationship whole. So I had to make myself whole. And I had to make myself whole by going back to what I know for me, what works for me is I know when you get a new, you probably heard this, so I forgot where I heard this from. But when you get a new product, when you want to learn about the product, you do what? You go and you read the manual. So my manual is the Bible. So I had to go to the Bible, and I know that way the word fed me. I know what's in the Bible is correct. And I know that if I follow the Bible, the instructions is in the Bible. It's right there for a healthy relationship. So I know if I follow the instructions, I know that I will do better. So getting back to myself, standing on God's word, this being more in control, I had to let go of everything else that I learned. That was the most important thing to me, was to let go everything else I learned and to step outside of that box, even though I know I was afraid to step outside of that box.
Yeah, you have to strip yourself from the things.
Yes, you had to die. Like you literally had to die to self in order, anything that for you to rebuild, you have to destroy something in order to rebuild it. So that's what I had to do. I had to die. I had to destroy everything that I knew that made me make the wrong mistake.
Right. Whether it's learned or whatever. Yeah.
And what you say, Rwanda, like that's really my story, and that's how I try to reprogram and try to re-educate myself. Like I've tried everything. I've tried. Oh, I'm not going to date no more. I'm not. I'm going to leave relationships alone. And really, the only thing that has helped me re-educate or reprogram the way I look at relationships, the way I look at women, I really have to build my relationship with God. Like I really had to focus on what His Word said and try my best to walk according to His Word. He's still working on me.
Yeah, we all.
But I found like that's the only way that I can re-educate myself and throw away all those other negative and toxic lessons that I've learned about relationships. Because if I trust on myself, I can't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if I say, okay, I'm gonna have self-control, it never works.
Yeah, so I find myself constantly praying for a new mind, a new perspective, to get me in the position to continue on the journey of strengthening my relationship. And that really helps as well, like you said, Wanda, is going back and taking the layers down, stripping yourself from all of the things that you were taught and trained up, and realizing like those things are not healthy. You know what I mean? And you don't have the strength sometimes within your own power capability to say, okay, I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna fix that, because it's not that easy. It takes time to unlearn behavior. It takes time to really get out of the mindset of things that are unhealthy habits that's been passed down from generations, things that we've been doing all our lives. But the spiritual aspect is very, very important, like you said, to get you to that point of getting over it. It's very true, y'all.
We have a question from Kenja Nigga. She asks, what happens when you can't trust your father or some of the men in your family? How are you supposed to have a healthy relationship with a God?
That's a really good question. It's hard. Who want to go first?
I mean, if you can't trust your father, you can't trust the men in your family, you definitely have to find someone that you can trust. I don't know whether it's a pastor or a mentor. And really, you, like we was kind of saying, you got to kind of lean on God.
Yes.
You got to lean on God and understand. But it takes so much. It takes getting to know yourself, because when you know yourself, then you know what to let in your life, what to let out of your life. So it takes building your relationship with God, because then you know what standards He needs you to live by. Because we all didn't have the best example as parents, and we couldn't follow their example. So we would have to follow. God usually puts someone else in our life that can be an example for a healthy relationship. You might have a couple in your, I don't know, in your community, in your church or wherever, and say, okay, I like how he treats his wife. I like how their relationship looks. Maybe that's something I can follow. I can learn from them, because I can't learn from my family tree.
Yes, and I will add to that also. Really read. Nene, she was a beautiful woman of God. And you know you're in your word a lot. You can find examples of great men in the Bible. It's right there in the Bible. And then and it also it will lay the foundation for you. And you know that you just pray for discernment. You need that discernment to know who you should trust. And when you get that discernment, that Holy Spirit is going to it's going to direct you. God's going to put people in your life for a reason and for a purpose. You just need that discernment to know what they're there for. Just keep praying for discernment. He is absolutely going to drop somebody in your life just for you to help you out. And it might not be somebody that you even would expect, but he's going to show you that all you got to do is keep praying for it.
And to piggyback off of what LaWanda and Adam has said, I think it's a good idea to not only do what they're telling you, but to remember that those men in your life are not the men or the man that will come to you. Everybody is different. So you don't want to group everybody in the same category. And I know it's hard because one person break your heart, whether it be men or women, you shutting everybody out. I don't want to do it with no men, I don't want to do it with no women. So just have an open heart, have an open mind to say that, you know, you may not trust the men in your family, but same thing like LaWanda and Adam has said, just rely on God, pray about it, and be open to other people because everybody's not the same.
All right, well, we're almost at the end of the show, but we're not done yet. I told y'all I have a rapid fire round for you guys. Kind of catch y'all off guard.
Oh Lord.
And pick your brains. But what I'm going to do, I'm gonna throw some words out there, and I want to know what's the lesson that you learned. What's the incorrect lesson, if there was an incorrect lesson, and what's the right lesson about these particular words that I throw out. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first word I'm gonna just throw out there: submission.
I would say the bad lesson is a lot of times women, especially ones who like me, were raised with strong female mother, that we don't submit. So don't submit is what I was taught. Like no. You know, you don't submit to any man. But knowing that if you read your Bible, I was taught the right way, you know, when God puts the right person in your life, the right guy, you will submit to. And what's the crazy part is, I think when people see the word submit, they automatically see negative things. So if you see a lot of negative stuff coming with the word submission, when women don't want to submit. So if you, again, reevaluate that word and see what it really means, and we'll see what God says to submit to your husband. That was key right there. I am not any man. Submit to your husband. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Submit to your husband. Okay.
I would say when it comes to submissiveness, same thing with Wanda. I have a strong background, always taught to be independent, and I don't have a problem with submitting, but are you worthy of being me being submissive too? And in the mindset of marriage as well, like you only want to submit to your husband. So if I feel that you are worthy of being submissive to, I will do it. I think the misconception, like I said, to me is more so I'm kind of independent, I'm more so strong, I got it, I don't need to.
Right.
But that's not what we're taught, especially in the Bible and things like that. You are supposed to submit to your husband and things like that. But for me, that's my whole thing. Are you worth submitting to? Because if you can't lead spiritually, you can't lead me.
Right.
So I'm not going to submit myself under the guidance of a man that's not being led by the Lord and that's not mature in that sense to guide me. I think that's foolish. I get some people do it, but for me, no.
And the crazy part is, I hear in a lot of relationships today, a lot of guys are always saying, are you submissive? Are you worthy of me being submissive? Submissive to everybody's not. So that's like I don't know about you, but I know a lot of guys. It could be you. It could, I don't know. But a lot of guys, that's what they look for. A woman that's submissive, and knowing that they not even ready to lead. They're not even prepared to lead. How could you ask me to be submissive if you can't lead me?
Mm-hmm.
I once heard a quote that really stuck with me about submission. And it said, submission is not about thinking less of yourself, but it's about thinking of yourself less.
Yes,
correct.
Yes.
So it's really being a selflessness. And the Bible tells men and women, or husband and wives, to be submissive.
Right.
So, but you're right. The word submission has got this negative connotation, negative thing behind it. But I really think it's all about being selfless.
Yeah,
like you giving yourself to me, I'm giving my, it's a vice versa thing.
Yeah.
It's not you controlling me or anything like that. Another word. I got another word. And I kind of touched on this, so you probably could run right through this word. But another word, independence. Oh, don't spit up.
I think a woman, or any woman or man, they need to have their own sense of independence, because we are individuals. We cannot forget that even though we're in a relationship, we are still individuals, and having that sense of independency, whether it's having your job, having your own things for yourself, that is key to being whole and being an individual by yourself. I think the problem with independency is having too much in the relationship, because you're not allowing your partner, in a sense, to be able to meet you where you are, or help you in areas where you may be weak, where they can help strengthen those areas, because you're like, no, I got it, I can take care of it myself, I'm independent, I don't need you. Where in a sense, when you're in a relationship, you're supposed to feed off each other, you're supposed to help each other. So too much of it is not a good thing, but I think it is good in a sense to be independent.
I think that when we talk about, sometimes when we talk about being independent, a lot of people go straight to feminism, and they're using independent and feminism interchangeably, and not seeing it as separate. Just because I'm saying I'm independent doesn't mean, one, I don't need a man, doesn't mean this is, again, it's all about how people are defining these words. I'm independent in the sense that I can do all these things by myself, but do I want to? No. So that's kind of the how I see, and because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm independent on this, and that, and they're thinking of, feminism instead of independent being, okay, we can do this, but we don't want to do this by ourselves.
Right. And I think a lot of people has taken the idea of the word of independence, and they believe that independence means that because I'm independent, that I don't want to be controlled by someone else.
Right.
And that also means that I don't have to be connected to somebody.
Right.
Like we can be independent, but we still need each other.
Right.
Like we still need each other.
Right.
I mean, you can't confuse being controlled and being connected, because nobody wants to be controlled. But we can't. But people say my independence means that I don't need anyone else.
Right.
And that's not true. Everyone needs something. So.
Any other words?
Yo, want one more word?
Throw another word.
One more word.
Throw another word.
And we're doing a rapid fire. What's the miseducation, and what's the proper way to look at this word? The last word I'm gonna throw out is forgiveness.
Oh wow, I love forgiveness. Forgiveness, first and foremost, forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about you. You have to let go and forgive. And it does, and I don't mean like right away. It takes time, but we just have to remember that forgiveness is definitely for you. I think people who hold grudges, I don't know if you guys remember, that's, you're giving somebody too much power to live in your mind rent free. So when you forgive and you're releasing all that, you're taking your power back.
That's true.
So when I see forgiveness, I see me getting everything back that God said is for me.
Right. Yeah. So I agree, Wanda, wholeheartedly. I'm in the process of still forgiving myself, and I want a lot of people to remember you have to forgive yourself too. You make mistakes, you do things that's not always the best. So it starts with forgiving yourself for the things that you've done, and also learning to forgive others in that aspect, because it's freedom, it's power and freedom in forgiving and letting go. And like I said, everybody's journey, everybody's trauma, trigger, situation is different. It may take you a couple months, it may take you years, but start in the process of going through forgiving and letting it go and giving it to God, even asking Him and praying, listen, help me get over this, help me get through this, because you want to be able to have access to all that He has in store for you. You don't want the unforgiveness to block you from future things that is to come. So I just encourage everybody to just let it go, to pray about it and work through it. Don't rush your process, but know that it gives you the key to get through it, to open the door, to start anew and let that stuff go.
Yeah.
Once you forgive, that peace that come after that is everything.
Yes.
It's a whole different, it takes you on a whole nother level. The peace that you get over your life, it's so much calm, it's so much growth, it's so much everything in that peace.
Yeah.
I remember one time someone hurt my feelings, got me angry. And I was holding a grudge against this person for a long time. And my friend just asked me a very simple question, but it like opened my eyes. She just asked me, what are you going to do with that grudge you're carrying away? And I couldn't answer the question. Like, well, what am I going to do? Am I just going to keep it inside me and just be angry and mad? But that's the miseducation people teach about forgiveness. Like forgiveness is a weakness. Forgiveness is a sign that you're submitting, that you're let somebody that did you wrong have their way. Forgiveness is letting someone get over on you. So we're taught not to forgive. And we walk around with all this anger and this resentment and this hurt, not forgiving people.
That's very
true. And of course, that'll destroy any relationship.
Yes.
That'll destroy any relationship. You can, even if it's a negative relationship, if it's a relationship that already passed and it's over, like you can break up with somebody, you can divorce somebody, but until you forgive that person, you're never going to heal.
Yes, you're not.
You're never going to heal.
Yes.
And that's just such an important part about healing and what we learn about forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we wrap it up, do you have what last words would you give to people about miseducation in relationship? You have any last thoughts you want to share? Anything at all?
I would say get back to self first. Even if you're single and you're looking to go into a relationship, that go back to yourself, learn who you are. It's always you before everything. So go get back to yourself. It's so important. This is what I'm gonna say. It's so important what you do in your waiting season. That was I wanted to say to somebody before. It's not. I said, wait. You waited for a long time. Keep on waiting. I've been waiting years. God, hurry up with my boat. And you're not actually doing what you should be doing in your waiting season. What are you doing in your waiting season? You could be doing, reading your Bible, doing this, doing that, and you're still wondering why Boaz hasn't come. And you forget that your whole attitude while you're waiting could have blocked your Boaz from coming. So what you're doing while you're waiting is very important. So really get back to yourself, get into your word, get with like-minded people and just stay positive.
Yeah, so I would agree with LaWanda as far as the miseducation of relationships. Same thing, first and foremost, yourself, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, strengthening your relationship with God, making sure that while you're single, if you are single, you are focusing on yourself, you're doing the necessary things that is key to forgiveness, to healing, to producing, to growth, everything that you need to. Try the best that you can to let those things go that has happened in the past, all those generational curses, those behaviors, change your perspective about relationships, because this is what this topic is about, the miseducation of relationships. There's so many things that we were taught and learned that are just not healthy and that are just not always true and the best way to go about things. So I want to encourage all of you to strengthen your relationship, spiritually, get around good people, like LaWanda said, like-minded people who are just going to push you to be better, work on forgiveness of yourself and of other people to get you to a better place, so that you can continue to become the best version of yourself.
Yes.
And where can people view I know you guys have a lot of content, a lot of videos coming out, maybe some events coming out. How can people stay connected with you guys?
So they can follow us on our Instagram page, which is call_2, number 2. Inspire Instagram, and also we have an email address if you guys ever feel free to want to reach out to us, give us some suggestions for topics or anything, and that's called to inspire us at gmail.com. We drop our videos as much as we can frequently on YouTube. So our mainstream is service, our main streaming service is YouTube, and you just type in "call to inspire" #2, and you can have access to me and Lawanda anytime.
Go on to Call to Inspire at YouTube, like us, subscribe to us, so you can stay connected with us, and we can stay connected with you.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm A.B. Bracewell, and this is Ready for Relationship Live. As I said in the beginning, this is all birthed out of the book that I wrote, Ready4 Relationships. That's the number 4. And you can find the book at ready4relationship.com, or you can just connect with me through Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And let's just stay connected. Watch the replay. If you have any questions, send them in. If you have any comments, send them in. And I just hope you guys learned as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did tonight. And I just want you guys to stay connected. Go to their pages, go to my pages, friend us, send a friend request, and share this. Share. All right, so
thank you guys.
Have a good night and God bless.
Enjoy.
Okay.
Edo didn't do it. It's not doing it.
Okay. It didn't.
Press the button.